you have the what, 70 now?
Yeah. Yep.
So do you think that the 90 is that much a bigger jump from the 70?
So
like what would the 90 have that you don't currently have that you'd really like to have?
Yeah, the key would be going from having ARC able to independently manage from 2 subwoofers to 4. And right now I only have 2 subs, so I'm not missing that.
Sure.
But at some point I'd like to do quad subs in the room as I have it now, and the 90 would do that. But I would be really interested to kind of hear the 90, because a lot of the conjecture about the 90 being better is based on build quality, guts, DACs, some of the things that in a lot of cases like people would kind of disregard, whether is there really a quality difference there. But the thing that keeps hitting me is like listening to or reading other owners talk about it. The ABS Anthem 7090 thread is pretty active. And there's a pretty common theme, I would say, that's there, that people that went from a 70 to a 90 appreciated what they heard and the impact that it made. That maybe there's some hopeful individual bias there. But I also have an Anthem STR, like their high-end like 2-channel preamp that I run my living room stuff on. And I actually bought that from a guy on ABS that had a 70 and the STR, and he was running them in like the home theater kind of bypass mode. And he tried out a 90 and sold both of the other 2. So real critical music listening guy sold his STR and said, no, this 90 is like good enough for real hi-fi music for me that I'm just going to stick with one processor. So, and I feel like I've seen stories like that fairly repeated through the bulk of this year. So
I've got the AVM70 and I've still got to get that set up and calibrated and everything. So I'm excited to check out Dirac Live again, because kind of like you, my first experience was many years ago. They sent me the MRX 1120.
Okay. Yep.
So that was an AVR at the time, but it had Dirac Live. First experience with Dirac Live. And it didn't do a real good job with my setup. It was really difficult even just to get the initial trims, because at that time I had clipsless Scalas and they're really, really efficient. And so it was struggling with that. Like it didn't know what to do with it. And so I finally got it set up, and it just it was before, what version of ARC are they on now? Genesis?
It's called Genesis, yeah. The current version is like 1.6.10.
So the one that I had several years ago was pre-Genesis, and so I don't know how much has changed. So I'm curious to see how would, because I still have efficient speakers. I'm just curious, like how well will it do in my setup now?
Yep.
But I'm excited to check it out, man. It looks gorgeous. It's a sweet piece.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that you've been enjoying it. It's been pretty rock solid.
Yeah, I love the Anthem stuff. There's been some elements that don't work super great as well. I struggle a little bit with the network connectivity. Needs a little bit of work. I've had a couple issues like getting some firmware updates, and there's a really weird I think bug. I don't know whose side it's on, but to actually get like the ARC software to connect to my STR, I have to unplug my Control 4 controller, because something is in like the network exclusive mode and it's kind of blocking the access. But from an overall usability and audio quality perspective, I'm super happy with that. Anthem as a brand. Happy enough that I bought the 70, and then I wanted to get the STR for the living room. But if you need any help with Genesis, let me know, because I feel like I've done a lot as well, kind of figuring out how to use their tools in a better way and make some customizations in the curves. I think universally there's like a need for some bass boost and kind of some tilting of like the default curve is a little too flat. But I think it does a great job with the focals. And
that was one of my biggest complaints with it, is the way I described it in my review is that it kind of sucked the life out of my bottom end. Like it was just gone. And I even contacted Anthem and said, hey, am I missing something? Because I'm really new to Dirac. So they said, hey, send us the ARC file, which that's really cool.
I'm getting confused because you keep saying Dirac and
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. ARC.
Okay.
I've done that again. I've only had it once. So but you can send them the ARC file and they can make tweaks to it, send it back to you. And so they did that, and it was a little bit better, but I was like, man, I was missing that, just that bottom end. It just kind of pulled that out. So I'm really, like I said, I'm really curious to see if ARC, the new Arc Genesis, will be a much, improvement in that area.
Yeah.
So
Stay tuned, because we've been announcing lots of stuff. Sean and I, we announced our spatial audio calibration toolkit. I've been working on some stuff also, because exactly what you said, Michael, all this calibration stuff is awesome. Mm-hmm. It does timing, all this stuff. But if you don't get the target curve correct, and you're not getting enough bass, nobody's going to like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main problem with most of the room correction software is they don't tell you what is the target curve. All right. What is it? So what's the default curve for Anthem Arc? What does it look like?
It's a little flat, I would say, a little too flat. And so there's kind of three things that I do in every Arc cal that I run in either one of my rooms. It's basically the same thing. Bump the room gain, which brings some of that back end or low end kind of sweep up. Still add a little bit of deep bass boost for the kind of the lowest frequencies. And then I do like a -2 dB tilt. And what that ends up doing, see if I can draw this the right way, right, is a nice kind of sweep down and then a general tilt down through the highs. And I also correct a little further out, for better or for worse. I think some people argue like, should you correct lower frequencies or highers?
Sure.
I find that I have a little more of an aversion in sound to high frequency noise. Like, I don't like out of the blue, really intense, screechy, harsh highs. So I go ahead and I let Anthem correct a lot further out, and particularly for my mains as well. Though I think it's good practice if you have an acoustically transparent screen, you wanna have the software correct out a little further, because then in the highers, that's where the screen has more of an impact on the sound that's coming through it. But effectively, basically what I've done is kind of my best effort to reproduce a Harman style curve where you've got, almost 10 dB or so between the lowest low and your highest high. And it's just sweeping nice, smoothly down.
So I actually talked to Dr. Floyd Toole the other, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago. And I kind of mentioned that. I already knew what he was going to say about it. But he was like, he's a little more colorful on the phone with his language. But he's like, about the Harman curve, he specifically said there is no target. Like, we didn't design that as a target curve. This is something that we were doing that kind of came up as a result of testing the JBL M2 in various rooms. And so we noticed that this is the curve. But unless you have JBL M2 and it's in those rooms that they tested in, he was kind of like, he didn't like the idea of people using it as a target curve specifically. Even though if I were to guess, right, I had no idea of your speaker or your room, and I said, you have to guess at what ideal target curve should be. It'd probably be my go-to as far as a guess.
Right, starting point, yeah.
But the problem is that's an average of various rooms. So one room could be very different, another one could be, just they can all be very different. And I think the idea is to find the right target curve specific to your room. So that's something that I'm working on, because I know that a lot of the automatic room correction software does not figure that out. Yeah. Doesn't figure out what your target curve should be. They're kind of like, here you go. Here's some tools for you to figure it out. I'm like, I don't know if they know either. Like, I don't know if how do most people know what their target curve should be? I don't know. I think that's what they rely on the room correction to do. So anyway, we'll see. Hopefully I'll have something to show you guys soon.
Yeah, there's a lot too between the last gen version, Michael, that you were using and the current one, the 20 series to the 40 series. Now there's like the auto phase measurement and correction and auto delay. So there's a whole bunch of subwoofer integration capabilities that are there now that weren't there before. So I think you'll find a very profound difference.
Cool. Yeah, because one thing I want to do is when I review it, I want to remove the mini DSP, because I just want to see, all right, what is this thing going to do just by itself? Because most people, at least starting out, that's what they're going to do. They're going to buy a unit. They're going to run the auto calibration, and they're going to see how it sounds in their room. They may make some tweaks, dive into it a little bit. But really that really small percentage, take it a step further and get like a mini DSP and go down that route and start measuring with REW. And but yeah, I'm excited, man.
Now, if you can't catch the show, we do have an audio version at anchor.fm/daily HiFi. So make sure to go on over there if you like to listen to the show.